On the sun-scorched plains of Sudan, a brutal civil war is raging. But if you look a little closer, you start to see the shadows of a totally different conflict, one that's being fought thousands of miles away. We're going to dive into the story of how the war in Ukraine has spilled over into Africa, creating this secret, high-stakes battlefield that almost no one is talking about.
Right? It's a pretty wild question. Ukrainian special forces fighting Russian mercenaries? In Sudan? How on earth did these two seemingly separate wars get so tangled up? Well, to unravel this whole mystery, we first have to understand the crisis in Sudan that created the perfect storm for this proxy war to even happen.
So yeah, the story of this proxy war doesn't actually begin in Moscow or Kiev. Nope. It starts in Khartoum, with a nation that's been caught in this devastating power struggle between two incredibly powerful generals. Okay, so on one side you have the Sudan Armed Forces, or the SAF. This is the country's official national military. On the other side, you've got the Rapid Support Forces, the RSF, a really powerful paramilitary group that actually grew out of the infamous Janjaweed militia. Both are led by these super ambitious generals, and their personal rivalry is really at the heart of this entire conflict. So, how did it get so bad? Well, after the dictator Omar al-Bashir fell back in 2019, there was this brief moment of hope for civilian rule, but that hope was completely shattered by a military coup in 2021. And by April 2023, all these simmering tensions between the SAF and the RSF just exploded into all-out war. It plunged the country into chaos and, you guessed it, created a perfect power vacuum for foreign players to jump in and exploit.
And this brings us to the first major outside player, Russia. You see, for Moscow, Sudan's instability wasn't some crisis to be solved. Oh no, it was a golden opportunity to push its own strategic goals, not just in Africa, but way beyond.
So what does Russia really want here? Well, it's kind of a three-pronged strategy. First, and this is a big one, gold. Sudan has massive gold reserves, and for Russia, that's a perfect way to get around Western sanctions and fund its war in Ukraine. Second, a naval base on the Red Sea, which is one of the most critical shipping lanes in the entire world. And third, it's all about influence, pushing back against the West and expanding its own power base.
And the prize here is just enormous. We're talking an estimated $4 billion in gold being smuggled out of Sudan every single year. And a huge chunk of that reportedly finds its way to Russia, giving its war economy a crucial financial lifeline.
Now, to lock down its interests, especially that naval base, Russia is using a classic tactic straight from the history books, gunboat diplomacy. I mean, it's pretty straightforward. You use your military might, you dangle the promise of weapons, and you use that as leverage to get exactly what you want. It's a power play that's as old as it is effective. And here's where you can really see Russia's shrewd, almost two-faced strategy in action. Its Wagner mercenaries are on the ground arming and training the RSF, helping them control the gold mines. But at the exact same time, the official Russian government is cutting deals with the other side, the SAF, offering them weapons in exchange for that naval base. Moscow is literally playing both sides, just to make sure that no matter who comes out on top, Russia wins.
But Russia isn't the only foreign power operating in the shadows. And this, folks, is where the story takes a really unexpected turn. This brings us to player number 2, Ukraine. In what seems like an incredibly bold and, let's face it, very risky move, Kyiv has allegedly decided to take its fight against Russia to a brand new continent.
So what's Ukraine's alleged game plan? Well, it looks like it's multi-layered. The number one goal is to hit Russia right where it hurts, its wallet. If they can disrupt that flow of Sudanese gold, they can weaken Russia's ability to wage war. At the same time, they're reportedly hunting Wagner mercenaries to raise the cost of Moscow's global operations. And while they're at it, they're also showing off their military tech, like their drones, to try and build new alliances across Africa.
And just listen to this quote from a think tank based in Kyiv, because it really captures the mindset behind all this. They said, "It is right to catch the mercenaries in Africa so that they can pay for the genocidal aggression against Ukraine." So you see, for some in Ukraine, this isn't just about strategy, it's about justice. It's about making Russian mercenaries pay for what they've done, no matter where on earth they are. But, and this is a really big but, this is an incredibly high-stakes gamble. By intervening in Sudan, Ukraine is risking alienating its Western allies, the very countries that are providing the critical aid it needs to survive. The US, for example, has been very clear, don't support either side in Sudan's war. So getting caught in the middle here could have absolutely disastrous consequences for Kyiv. So why should we care about a proxy war in a country that feels so far away? Because this isn't really just about Sudan.
It's a chilling example of a new global trend, where local conflicts are becoming the battlegrounds for much bigger global rivalries.
This quote from Alan Boswell of the International Crisis Group just sums it up perfectly. What occurs in Sudan will not stay in Sudan. He's 100% right. The conflict there has consequences that are going to ripple across the region and the world, directly connecting the stability of Africa to the war in Europe.
I mean, the ripple effects are already pretty clear. The war threatens to engulf the entire, very fragile Sahel region in chaos. Sudan's resources, that gold, are directly fueling Russia's war machine in Ukraine. And it proves that Africa is no longer on the sidelines of world events. It's becoming a central arena for this 21st century great power competition.
And that brings us to the final, and frankly, most sobering question. As all these global powers play their geopolitical chess game across continents, who actually pays the ultimate price? It's the civilians on the ground, the people of Sudan, caught in a crossfire they never asked for. They're the ones who are paying for all of this with their lives.